Okay, so now we are on chapter 3. These are the practice quiz for chapter 3. Let's quickly go through it. Section 1 is around multiple choice question. The first question is, what qualifies living beings as entities of Myoho Renge Kyo? So the answer for this is C. So all the entities of Myoho Renge Kyo we have already discussed in chapter 2 as well. So all the entities of Myoho Renge Kyo will go through a rising and extinction. Also, all the entities of Myoho Rengekyo will be part of the 10 worlds. They will exhibit the 10 worlds, right? So that is the answer for first question. Next question is, where life and death exist, what must also be present according to the law of lotus? So that is what we discussed. Wherever the living beings are, they will always be in the 10 worlds, and whenever they are in the 10 worlds, whenever they are exhibiting any emotion, ultimately it means that they will always have a cause and effect. They will always create cause and effects. So that means they will always be governed by the law of lotus, which is simultaneity of cause and effect. The phenomena of life and death inherent in the mystic law are true substance of living beings of the 10 world. So essentially, when we have looked the first three questions, we have understood the phenomena, that all of the phenomena of life and death inherent in the mystic law are law of lotus. They will be part of the 10 worlds. They will be arising and extinction as one of the phenomena. According to Tiantai, living beings and their environments refers to the phenomena of life and death as the law of Renge. Okay. Now, why is Nichiren Daishonin able to explain the law so deeply in this Gosho? Because he is Bodhisattva superior practices inherently one with the mystic law. We read it in the chapter 2 as well, that out of all the Bodhisattvas, Shakyamuni Buddha entrusted the law for the latter day only to Bodhisattva superior practices, because he was the only one who was trained on the law from the remote past by none other than Shakyamuni Buddha himself, and that's the reason he was able to manifest, he was able to explain the law so deeply. Now, according to the chapter, myo most accurately refers to death. Myo also means unmanifest form. Myo also is a mysterious or mystical phase as well. Myo also means revive and revitalization. It also means latent. So all these are synonym with myo. The ocean and wave analogy primarily illustrates that life and death are expressions of the same underlying mystic law. So, in ocean and wave example, ocean is the so waves keep on coming and keep on dying. So, waves represent the arising of the wave, the formation of the waves is similar to the life, and the dying of the waves, undulation of the waves is similar to death. However, whether wave is in the dilation form phase or undulation phase, ultimately they both are part of ocean. Similarly, whether we are seeing a manifest form or the unmanifest form, ultimately they both are part of mystic law itself. Now, in an analogy, why can waves be difficult to comprehend in depth? So, waves may appear to be coming as we stand on beach and we see the waves are forming. So, we may not be able to understand the magnanimity. We won't be able to understand the depth from exactly that wave was got originated. In fact, as per one study, if we are on a California beach, it may happen that the waves we are seeing would have originated from New Zealand. So from that far, a storm in New Zealand can create a wave that can be experienced in California. So that far also waves can travel, right? Because why? Because when we are in the deep sea, they are already there. It's just that as they are coming to the shore, they start getting manifested. That's what the meaning of that's basically part of principle of momentum as well. So that's the reason waves originate in undercurrents long before they appear. The same goes for our life. When we are in the life form, manifest form, but when we go back in the after death, we again get merged, fused with the universe, and we are always there in the universe. And whenever the right conditions meet, ultimately we manifest ourselves in the form of a life. Now, mystic law embodies the two phases of life and death. Which pair corresponds to this? That's very straightforward. Answer is C. Mu means death, O means life. The two way of existence and non-existence. So there is a word which is basically there is a phrase, the two ways of existence and non-existence, that basically corresponds to the true functions of an inherently enlightened mind. So you can also think of it like that: Buddha in life and Buddha in death. So there are two ways of existing. I can exist in life, I can exist in death, right? So that they are ultimately a function of inherently enlightened mind. Why does mu correspond to death? Because it refers to the vast mysterious universe into which all life fuses. That's the reason mu correspond to death. Why does Ho correspond to life? Because it refers to the manifest and individual existence. Next question is, our original self at time without beginning is described as joyful, pure, bright, friends who pledge to work for happiness of self and others. So the idea of the entire chapter 3 is to make you understand that inherently and originally we all were Buddha, but because of the delusions, because of the sufferings of birth and death, because of all this illusion and delusion, ultimately that life state became non-dominant and other lower life state became dominant in our day-to-day being. However, if we go back to our original self, then we were always joyful, pure, bright friends who are pledging to work for happiness for oneself and others. Now, the next question is around what exactly dependent origination means. It basically means that everything is interconnected. Nothing can exist in isolation. So, all phenomena, whatever phenomena we are seeing, they are all through mutual dependence and influence. So, think of dependent origination. Now, this is something which science is also acknowledging. Still, even in today's time, in the quantum world, dependent origination, the science is acknowledging, accepting, but still they don't know how does it work. So there are concepts like quantum entanglement, there are concepts like observer effect. Everyone knows that this observer effect and quantum entanglement happens, but how exactly that happens, no one knows, right? So still science needs to get to that extent to understand how exactly that works. However, in Buddhism we already have a concept of dependent origination, which is all phenomena which we see, they are basically interdependent on each other, right? Maybe the dependence correlation may be weak, may be very strong, it may be a function of distance, it may be a function of time, but ultimately everything is connected. So there is a similar concept of butterfly effect, that a flapping of butterfly at one end of the corner can create a storm at the other end of the world. So there's a lot of concept around this in science and philosophy. So one of the concept is dependent origination, which is basically in the distilled form can also be said as oneness of life and environment. Now, what governs every living being across all 10 worlds? So that is none other than mystic law, which is Namyo Horenge Kyo. So every living being has certain quality, certain characteristics. The first characteristics is that all living beings are entities of mystic law. They all embody lotus. They all lotus basically they all create cause and effect, and they all have the 10 worlds and the capability to exhibit the 10 worlds. Now, awakening to one's inherent Buddhahood means that we are realizing that life in itself is an entity of the mystic law. As soon as we understand that my life in itself is Namyo Horenge Kyo, that means we have been awakened. In the symbolism of Renge, simultaneity means what? The simultaneity means that the cause and effect are occurring simultaneously. One is visible, which is cause, and one is latent, which is hidden, which is effect. When the right time comes, then the when the right conditions come, right time come, that latent will get manifested. That is the meaning of lotus. Now, entity of Myoho Renge Kyo literally means what? Entity of Myoho Renge, entities of Myoho Renge Kyo means lotus of the entity or embodied lotus. So think of it like that, an equation that if somebody says that I am an entity of Myoho Renge Kyo, that means you are Myoho Renge Kyo itself. It also means that you are embodying, you are personifying lotus. Because just like lotus, we keep on, just like lotus has a simultaneity of cause and effect. Similarly, in our life, because we are dwelling in the 10 worlds, we keep on creating the cause, and simultaneity of effect also happens because of the law of simultaneity of cause and effect. So, we are entity of mystic law, we are entity of lotus, we are embodied lotus. So, these will keep on coming one after the another. Now, there are two ways of looking at causality, which we studied. The first level of causality described in the text is very straightforward karmic retribution. Simple karmic retribution of reward or punishment is the very straightforward meaning of law of causality, which basically means if I am doing good, then I'll get a good effect. If I am doing bad, then I'll get a bad effect in the coming time. Now, the second level of causality means that instantly manifestation of effect. So when we chant, That is the true cause I'm creating. As soon as I chant, the true cause creates the true effect then and there itself. So the answer is C. Chanting Daimoku manifests Buddhahood right here, right now. It's not something that I need to wait for some time before the Buddhahood will start manifesting in my life. No, it doesn't work like that. As soon as I do, it will start manifesting. Now, the second law level of causality teaches a profound inner change manifests Buddhahood instantly. So the functioning of 3000 realms in a single moment of life, that is something which is getting governed by the second level of causality. Chanting Daimoku with deep conviction brings forth the great life force infused with wisdom and compassion. Right now, mutual possession of 10 world teaches that any life state can manifest any other state, including Buddhahood. What is identified as the inherent nature of the universe? The inherent nature of the universe is compassion. Okay, and that's the reason when we chant Daimoku with deep conviction, we ultimately start getting the characteristics or the nature of universe, which is compassion and immense abundant wisdom. And that when we get abundant wisdom, life force, compassion, and that's how we keep on operating in the Buddha realm. All right, compassion motivates practitioners too. So ultimately, when we look at the quality of Buddha, so the qualities of Buddha are courage, compassion, wisdom, good fortune, absolute happiness, right? However, if we look at the order in which the qualities will um, have a cascading effect. So the first and the foremost quality of Buddha, the first and foremost quality of chanting Namyo Renge Kyo is having a is uh, is compassion. So when we chant, the first quality we get is compassion. That compassion for others ultimately leads to courage. That with compassion and courage, we have to take action. That action needs wisdom, and that wisdom also we derive from universe itself. However, the starting point is compassion. It's not courage. It's not wisdom. It's based on the compassion we take the we basically take the action, and to take the action we need wisdom and courage both, but the starting point is compassion, right? What combination enables practitioners to break through obstacles? So what exactly we need, no matter. So at one of the meeting, one of the member asked, or I think that he was a new joinee, asked me that what exactly I'm going to get when I'm starting chanting. Is it going to solve my relationship problem? Is it going to solve my financial problem, health problem? How is it going to work? So the answer was that to solve any of the problem, whether it's a relationship problem, business problem, finance problem, health problem, ultimately what exactly we need wisdom to take the right action. We need to have a courage to take the right action based on the wisdom, and of course underlying is compassion. We also need a little bit of good fortune in our life so that we are able to get the right diagnose, meeting with the right people at the right point of time. So ultimately, when we manifest Buddhahood from within, all these qualities comes, and based on those qualities, ultimately when we keep on manifesting it again and again, then we keep on getting those qualities of Buddha: courage, compassion, wisdom, good fortune, and ultimately that helps us to overcome no matter whatever the problem is. Now, the ultimate view of life and death described is that both life and death become filled with joy through correct faith. So, one thing which is constant in life is change. Change will continue to come. Now, if we base our life on something which is a very changeable nature by characteristics, whether it is attaching ourselves to our body or attaching ourselves to a material things, maybe house, car, anything, then we are basically giving out a license of our happiness to those things, and they will continue to change. That is the nature of universe, right? The rhythm of the universe of arising and extinction, correct? And then our emotions will continue to be derived by them. Ultimately we will be in the lower worlds, and when we are going through the struggle, we will be in a sad phase. When we overcome the struggle, then we will be in the happy phase. But do we really want that kind of a oscillating behavior? No, I want a stable behavior, right? To do so, when we base our life on the mystic law, when we base on something which is rhythm of universe in itself, when I'm aligning with the change, right, and I'm moving with that change, which is the law of life and death, then my even my sufferings will become source of joy. We will read about it more in the chapter 11, I think, earthly desires and enlightenment. Okay, so this is it for chapter 3. Let's quickly go through some fill in the blanks. Myo represents the death or unmanifested phase of life. Waves appearing, disappearing symbolizes life and death. Living beings are entities of the 10 worlds because they pass through the two phases of life and death. So make sure you understand that living beings are the entities of the mystic law. Living beings are entities of the lotus. Living beings are embodied lotus. Okay. All things exist in mutual interdependence according to dependent origination. Awakening to our inherent Buddhahood helps us break the chain of delusion. Okay. Good causes lead to joy while bad causes lead to suffering. That is the concept of the karmic retribution or level 1 of the law of causality. Chanting daimoku allow us to manifest Buddhahood instantly. That is the second level of interpretation or the second level of understanding of law of causality. The inherent nature of universe is compassion. The embodied lotus expresses the simultaneity of cause and effect. The second level of causality allow us to manifest Buddhahood instantly. We just discussed it. Chanting Daimoku brings forth great life force infused with wisdom and compassion. So some match the following. Mu means unmanifest form. Ho means manifest form. Mutual influence of life and environment is dependent origination. Now general karmic retribution is level 1 of the causality. Immediate manifestation is the level 2, and simultaneity of cause and effect is something which is as part of the lotus analogy. All right, just give me a minute. Yes, yes, no problem. I think हो जाएगा ये chapter. Okay, so match key principle to application: mutual possession of 10 worlds. Any world can manifest Buddhahood, life force. Basically, that is something makes impossible possible through inner expansion. Compassion is required to break obstacle with wisdom and heart. Okay, now some of the questions. Explain how Myo and Ho demonstrate the inseparability of life and death. Myo represent death and Ho represent life. Both are the same two sides of the same coin. I would highly recommend that you take a pause here and go through the answer. These are some short answers, representative questions. Um, I highly recommend that take a pause and go through the answer. Some question are: how does dependent origination reinforce the idea that all beings are functions of the mystic law? Describe the two level of causality and their significance. How does the mutual possession of 10 volts enable a practitioner to break through hardship? Why is compassion described as inherent nature of the universe? And how does this affect one's life and death? Explain the second level of causality and why it is transformative. So with this, we have completed the chapter 3. Thank you so much.